So here I am once again, taking a look at Korora 22. This time we're taking a look at the Mate desktop. So as you can see, they have a nice, good looking GUI, not at all boring like Gnome 3. I think I typed my password in correctly there, yep. Alright, there we go, we're going in. This desktop loads relatively quickly. Alright, and this is from when I went to Maine, to the easternmost part of the United States, in Lubeck. So, as I mentioned before, there's two different paths basically for people who didn't like Gnome 3. There's Cinnamon, which is trying to ape Gnome 2 but using Gnome 3 technologies. And then there's Mate, which is taking the Gnome 2 source and forking it. Forking, of course, being both the blessing and the curse of open source. It means that if you don't like what someone's doing, you can take the source code and go make your own thing. So when the GNOME developers said we're going to 3, some people said nope, we're keeping 2. And so they're just modernizing it, keeping it up to date. But you still get the exact same thing you used to get. Although, if you look at the way that Korora has configured it, perhaps trying to appeal to people who are used to GNOME 3, there's only the top menu, the top bar, and I always liked the bottom bar. I'm not sure. Here we go, new panel. So normally I'd have one there, and then I'd move this to the bottom. I'd have like a trash here, and the some of the other stuff. So here's all the stuff that used to be in GNOME 2. So it's all there. You can still do it. I'm not going to bother configuring this, but I just want to show you how you would do it and how I would normally configure it. Normally I just leave up here for the system tray and then any launchers for programs that I use all the time. So let's take a look at the menu here. So it's slightly different than it was under GNOME 2, where it was 3 menus, but it still has the same setup, only modernized, which is kind of the theme of Mate. It's GNOME 2 but modernized. So Places is here, System is here, and then here are your applications, which again have the same categorizations that you did under GNOME 2, which, as I mentioned last time, as always, pros and cons. Pros being that you can find things quickly, cons being that once you get used to the computer, you'll just come here, you'll type Firefox, and it'll appear right there. Or what I normally do is I do an Alt F2, I do Firefox, and then that's how I launch Firefox, which will be launched presently. So there it is, and it's hewing a lot more to the older style. So the interesting thing would be to ask yourself, why would you want to do this? Why not go with GNOME 3? Why not go with Cinnamon? Well, there's two possibilities. One is that you really liked GNOME 2, and when it disappeared, you went to 3, or you went to XFCE, or maybe, heaven forbid, you went to KDE. Now, of course, I love KDE, but if you were a die-hard GNOME user, you probably would have found it a hard pill to swallow. So maybe you've been waiting all this time, and now it's here, now it's stable, and you can use it, and that would make you happy. But, also, there were things that I discovered, like Window Maker and FVVM2 when I first got to Linux, and those were already really old by the time I got there. So, and I liked those for a while, I used it for a while. So maybe some people have never used it before, but they come to it and they say, hey, this is pretty cool, and they start using it. Once again, I love Gwibber. That's a great Twitter and many other things. At least it used to work on Facebook and other things. Great application. FileZilla. Someone was complaining the other day about wanting FileZilla on Linux. Well, there it is. But anyway, it has Handbrake, and it has all the stuff that you might want. All the GNOME-based, whether they're GNOME 2 or GNOME 3, they kind of all have the same type of applications. They're all GTK applications. But it's all there. It's all what you would want to do. And, again, pros would be, hey, I want to use Fedora, and I want to use the Mate desktop because I like GNOME 2, but I don't want to have to go and find VLC and all, MP3 playback and all that stuff. I just want it to work. Boom. again, the con of Korora is that it's behind Fedora. Now, one interesting thing that I've noticed on all the GNOME desktops that I haven't mentioned in a video because I kept noticing it after the fact was that there is no notification that there are updates. And I know there are updates. In fact, I'll prove it to you right now in the terminal. You know, Fedora, back when I used to use GNOME 2, used to have like little, like kind of like an explosion icon or like a POW icon from the old Golden Age comic books. And so far, of all the Korora desktops I've looked at, only KDE has had something that lets you know that you have updates. And I find that odd because you always want to keep your computer up to date, or at least know that there are updates. And maybe there's a reason why you don't want to install it, but you want to know. You always want it to be up to date. So let's take a look here. It'll just take a minute. You know, I'm running this in a VM. As you can see, it's looking in both Korora and Fedora repos, because that's basically what Korora is. It's Fedora with a little extra thrown on top. All right, RPM Fusion, of course. That's where it gets all the non-free stuff. Chrome. I didn't notice Chrome. Let me take a look at that while we're waiting for this to go. I don't see Chrome, even though we have the repository. I guess it's basically they're like, hey, we have it here in case you want to use it, but you don't have to use it. I'm getting close to where we want to be. 17 seconds ago. So it checked 17 seconds ago, so the system knows whether or not there are, and look at that, there's a whole bunch of updates that it needs. So I think it's odd that it doesn't tell you, and I think that's one place where Korora falls short, and I don't know why. I don't know if they're like, hey, if you know, whiz-bang enough to know about Korora, you're whiz-bang enough to know about checking your own updates. I'm not sure. But that's definitely one knock against at least the GNOME ones. KDE was fine, but all these GNOME ones. We'll see what happens when I go check out the XFCE. At any rate, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.